Good afternoon and welcome to Meet Your Future. So my name's Bronwyn and I'm part of the Education Work and Skills team here at Greater Manchester Combined Authority. For those of you that have joined before, you might be aware that Meet Your Future was launched in April 2019 by Andy Burnham, the Mayor of Greater Manchester. Meet Your Future was launched to enable more young people like you to meet with and connect with different businesses and employers to explore various different roles, careers and pathways here within the city region. So to celebrate Safer Internet Day and National Apprenticeship Week, which is happening this week, we've got the Greater Manchester Police's cybercrime unit who are focusing on raising awareness around the roles in cyber and policing and to highlight apprenticeships. This session today will also contain information and tips to help prevent you from becoming victims of cybercrime. And in this live event, we're delighted that we are joined by Sophie Newburn, who's a Cyber Protection Officer at GMCA Cybercrime Unit. So thank you so much for joining us today for the next half an hour. And we hope that you find today's session really inspiring and really informative as well. And there is a question box on this session as well. So please make use of that question box for any questions that you want to ask or any thoughts that you want to share throughout the session. You'll see it on the right-hand side of the screen and we'll be publishing any questions that come through. Please do ask your teacher to put any questions that you have in this box, and there will be 5 minutes at the end to cover some of these questions. And this is your opportunity to ask Sophie about what you've heard today. So if you'd like to use captions or subtitles during the event, please select the captions / subtitles on in your video controls too. I will now hand over to Sophie, who will take you through the Safer Internet Day presentation. And thank you. And over to you, Sophie.
Thank you. I will just be a second while I load up my slides. And then if I could just ask you, Bronwyn, to give me the thumbs up when they are good to go at your end. Okay, I've clicked at my end, so just let me know when we're all there. Yep, okay, perfect. So good afternoon, everybody. My name is Sophie and I am the Cyber Protect Officer for Greater Manchester Police. So it's my job to give people advice and information on staying safe online. So hopefully you will find something useful today or a little bit interesting, because I am also going to be covering, like Bronwyn said, some possible careers in cyber and in policing that you might not have considered, that you might actually fancy. So first of all, look, I'm going to cover what my team looks like. So I'm from the cybercrime unit based at Greater Manchester Police, and this started off as a 2-person team a few years ago that now is huge. Every time I go into my office, there is a new person working for our team. So I want to let you know just a little bit about how our team is built up, because there might be some roles in here that you would actually fancy. So we call it the 4 Ps. So we have our prepare officers, and they're the really techie people who play with all the gadgets and the hacker tools that the criminals use, so that we're always one step ahead. So this might mean that somebody could work in this role who would rather be a little bit behind the scenes, have more of an investigative role, maybe have more of an experimental role with when it comes to technology, but they don't want to be public facing. They don't want to be arresting people. And in this role, you could either be a police officer or just a member of staff. And I'm going to cover the difference between those two as well in this session. But a prepare officer, if you are particularly techie, that could be something you're interested in. Protect, that's my role, and I go around talking to anybody and everybody that will listen about staying safe online. So that is a public facing role. I do a lot of talking like this, sometimes in schools, sometimes in businesses, sometimes maybe with older people, making sure they don't fall for scams online. So that's another option that you have when it comes to the police, that working with people in Protect, and we have that in various areas as well as cyber. Prevent is somebody who works with young people and making sure they don't commit cyber crimes. So a lot of young people are really, really techie. and they can do a lot of things on their phones and on their computers. But sometimes you can do things that could get you into trouble that you don't realise. And I am going to cover all about that today as well. So our prevent officer works with these young people and makes sure that they have career opportunities, courses, programmes that they can follow so that they can earn a lot of money legally in cyber and not get themselves into trouble. And then we have pursue, and that's the kind of police work that you see on TV. The detectives, the police officers, the ones that go and arrest people, do investigations, go to court. We do also have staff roles in pursue. So you could come and join us as a civilian investigator and behind the scenes, not be a police officer, not have to wear a uniform and still get involved with police investigations. So that's just a few things to bear in mind when it comes to cyber inside the police on careers that you might fancy. So now I'm going to talk about how to stay safe online. And this might sound really, really boring, but the reason for 99.9% of the crimes that my team deal with every single day are just because of really rubbish passwords. So in the same way as you lock your front door when you leave your house, a password locks your online world, so it will keep your information safe. It could be your online shopping accounts, it could be online gaming, online banking, social media, your email account, anything that you do online has information about you, and the password protects that. So we say, do not tell your password to anybody else, even best friends, especially younger brothers and sisters, because sometimes they might tell people your passwords and they might not mean to, but they might just do it anyway because they know and because they're excited. So the less people, the only person that I would say to tell your passwords to are to your parents and carers, the people that look out for you, just to make sure that they can keep you safe on your devices. But other than that, I wouldn't be telling anybody else your passwords. The next thing is not to use anything personal in your passwords. So when I say this, if anybody in your class or in your school could possibly guess your password, so could a cyber criminal. So we shouldn't be using our pets' names, favourite celebrities, our football team that we support, memorable dates, because it's quite easy to find out what somebody's pet's name is. Maybe you've got a City shirt on in your profile picture and your password's MCFC123. So we need to make sure that we're not giving away this kind of information and using it as our passwords. So don't use things like that. I will cover on the next slide how to make a good password. But the last one is to have different passwords on all of your accounts. And the reason for this is that criminals are a little bit lazy, cyber criminals. And if they get into one of your accounts, they will use that same email and password in as many accounts as they can think of to get as much information about you. So if all your passwords are the same, then they'll be able to get into everything. And one day you could open your phone, open Instagram, you've been logged out. Open WhatsApp, you've been logged out. Open Snapchat, you've been logged out. And then you start to panic a little bit. So if you have different passwords, it stops criminals being able to do that. Now it says especially email on the screen because your email account is the hub of everything. You sign into social media, you usually use your email. You do an online shopping order, the receipt goes to your email. So we need to make sure that the strongest password of all of your accounts is your email, even if you don't spend your evenings going through your emails. So this is my advice for how to create a strong password. We use 3 random words. Now, if you're techie and you have a password generator on your phone that will create you a really long, random, complex password and save it for you, that's great. If you have to create your own, 3 random words is a nice, simple way of doing that. Look around whatever room you're in, pick 3 different things and write them down. The one in the screen there, pen, apple, fish. If that was your password, no criminal would be able to guess it. And it says there, the magic number is 12. It used to be that passwords needed to be 6 characters, then 8, now we're saying 12. They're getting longer because unfortunately, cyber criminals are getting a little bit more techie. So they have these machines called brute force attack machines, and they could set it off on your TikTok account and it'll guess a different character every few seconds and it'll go on and on and on until it's cracked the whole password, even if it's completely random. Statistically, if your password is 12 characters or longer, these machines will time out and the criminals will move on, and your account and your information will be safe. So the example on the screen there, they're not really long words, but together they add up to 12 characters. And if the website then wants a number or a special character, pop that on the end as well. The next thing I'm going to cover is another really simple thing, but it's about updates. I'm guessing a lot of you have or use smartphones, maybe tablets, maybe an iPad, and sometimes the device needs updating. Sometimes the apps themselves need updating. Now, this can be new filters and features in a game, a new set of emojis, all kinds of fun things, but they also contain really important security updates. So if you think about the TikTok app, that holds data on billions of people, including a lot of you that are watching today, I imagine. And criminals all over the world will try and hack into TikTok every single day. Now, if the people at TikTok see someone trying to get in, they'll do some fancy coding and they'll kick that criminal out. They then send that code into your phone in the form of an update. So we need to make sure that we're doing our updates so that we're not leaving the door open for criminals to steal our data, our messages, our pictures. So I'm going to move on to social media now, because I know a lot of people use social media. It can be really great, really fun, lots of things that you can do on there. We just need to make sure that we're using it safely and sensibly. So we would always advise anyone to set their accounts to private, particularly younger people. There is no reason to have thousands plus friends or followers if one of them could be somebody dodgy or somebody dangerous, and you could put yourselves and your friends at risk as well. And then once your account is on private, only accept people who you actually know in real life. And then once you're on the private account and you've only accepted people that you know, consider what you actually need to share. Could you be sharing too much information that could give away your passwords or information about you or your location? So we just need to make sure that we are using it as sensibly as possible, because I know a lot of people might want to be YouTubers and influencers, and that's absolutely fine. I'm not here to say that you will not be that, but just while you are younger, private accounts will just keep you and your information really, really safe. So this is a really important one. But once something is posted on social media, it is there forever, even if you delete it. Now, I mean likes, tags, comments, shares, posts, and private messages as well. So there are some celebrities on the screen. You may recognise some of them. The first one on there is Kevin Hart. The reason he's on there, the same as all the others, is that they've all posted something silly on the internet that's got them into trouble. So Kevin Hart in 2011 posted on Twitter, and it was a really offensive tweet. It was homophobic. Since that tweet got deleted. He's a very rich and famous person. He has a team of people working for him that make his social media look very nice, and they deleted that tweet. Fast forward to 2019, and Kevin Hart was supposed to be presenting at the Oscars. This tweet got found, it got shared around, and he got sacked. They didn't want to work with him anymore because he shared this offensive tweet. Now, the reason I tell you this story is because if someone as rich and famous as Kevin Hart can't hide something silly that they've put on the internet, then what chance do you have, do I have, do any regular people have? So it's really, really important that we are sensible from today onwards and don't post silly things on the internet that could get you in trouble. A lot of universities, a lot of big companies that you might want to go on and work for at every level of position will do social media scans as standard. So they will check your accounts, what's there, what's maybe not there, and they will say, so what I don't want is for you to work really hard for that career that you want and then miss out because of something silly that you've put on the internet. So that's a really, really important one. I'm now going to talk about something a little bit more serious and a little bit embarrassing as well. I'm going to talk about indecent images. Now, when I'm talking about indecent images today, I mean any image of somebody under the age of 18, either naked, semi-naked, without clothes on, of a sexual nature. Now, it's important that we realise that it is illegal to take, have or share these kind of pictures. So this means that if you are under 18 and you take a picture of yourself without clothes on, that is illegal. If you then have that image on your phone, that is also illegal. If you then send that image to someone else, that is illegal too. Then that other person that receives that image, even if they didn't ask for it, they now have that on their phone, so they're committing an offence as well. So it's important to bear this in mind. So a lot of people don't realise that you are committing an offence because you're under 18 as well. Now, first and foremost, from the police, we want to protect you. We aren't here to get you into trouble. So we don't want to, but that's not the aim of this talk. It's just to make you aware that that is illegal and how that could affect you, and even sharing it to other people, how it could affect them. But if anybody ever asks you to take a picture without your clothes on, you report it straight away to a parent, to a teacher, to a carer, to the police. And if you have taken pictures like that, as long as you've not sent them to anybody, make sure that we are deleting them. If you have sent them to other people, you can report them and we can make sure that that image is looked at. There is a website on the bottom corner of the screen there called the Internet Watch Foundation, where you can completely anonymously report any indecent image of anybody under the age of 18. Could be one that you've seen, could be one that someone sent to you, could be one that you've seen in a group chat. However you've seen it, you can report it, and that team will look at removing it, because sometimes images can get screenshotted, shared, and end up in all kinds of places, dodgy parts of the internet. And these teams work together to get these images removed from as many places as possible. So they really, really will protect that young person in the image. So that's a really useful resource there. And then slightly less serious, but more common, things like TikTok dances. There's a lot of fun things you can do on TikTok. However, there's also a lot of inappropriate songs, dances and outfits. So be really, really sensible with the kind of content you're creating and sharing to make sure it's not indecent. And then think about who you're sharing it to. Make sure that your account is on private and that you're only sharing appropriate things on there. And that is the www.iwf.org. I will be sharing all these slides with your teachers afterwards, so all of these materials and anything else I cover will be on there. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is just tell you a few things, like I mentioned at the beginning, that are actually illegal when it comes to being online. So the first one is going onto someone else's phone or account without permission. So even if you know your friend's PIN code because it's rubbish, or they've let you on their account before, which is fine, if you then go on someone's account at another time without permission, that is illegal. Even if you don't do anything, you might just read the messages or look at the pictures, you can get up to 2 years in prison for that offence. The second one is exactly the same. You go on someone else's account or phone without permission, but then you do something else. You buy something or you send a nasty message. That's then committing an additional offence, and that's Section 2 of the Computer Misuse Act, and you can get up to 5 years in prison. The third one, Section 3, is damaging systems. Sometimes people might try and hack into their school system and shut it down. That would be a Section 3 offence. Something called a booter tool that any online gamers that are listening to may have heard of. Sometimes you might be playing an online game, you probably might be winning, and then all of a sudden someone kicks you off the internet. They not just kick you out of the game, they have shut down your network, and that's probably been done with a booter tool. Now, if you use one of those or damage a computer system, you can get up to 10 years in prison. You can get up to 2 years just for downloading one, even if you don't use it. The same as if you download dodgy things like how to hack a Snapchat account guide. That's also illegal to have on your device. So we need to make sure that we're being as sensible as possible, especially now, you know, these are kind of the things that are legal and illegal when it comes to being online, that if you are ever unsure, just ask an adult, or if it doesn't feel right, it probably isn't. So you either need to get some help with what you're doing or stop doing it altogether. The average age of a convicted cybercriminal, so sent to jail, is 17 years old. Now that's young. Criminals in jail on average are not that young. But unfortunately, when it comes to cybercrime, young people are really techy. They can do things that some adults can't do, and they will end up accidentally getting themselves into trouble. So hopefully now you have this information, you won't do that, because there are so many good things you can do if you are techy and you have an interest. So I'm going to pop on the screen now just some possible careers that you could have in cyber if you are techy. An ethical hacker, that's a really interesting one. That's where you actually get paid quite a lot of money to hack into systems. So a bank could hire an ethical hacker and say, please hack into our online banking platform. This person will then do it. They'll try and hack in. If they get in, they then say to the bank, look, this is how I got in. This is what you need to, how you need to protect yourself. And it shows them, and they get a lot of money for doing that. The next one is a cybersecurity architect. So an architect outside of cyber designs buildings. A cybersecurity architect designs apps and software that companies or people can use. So somebody will have at one point designed TikTok as an app. That would have been done by an architect. They will have then added all the security things in place, like your passwords and your privacy settings that are on there. All of those things have been designed and created by cyber architects. We then have cybersecurity engineers. So in real life, engineers build and maintain things. Exactly the same for this. So once the architects have designed it, the cybersecurity engineer will build it and maintain it. Cyber threat intelligence researchers, they search the internet, sometimes the open internet, sometimes the dark web, sometimes closed systems, and they will find information. That could be on behalf of companies, that could be on behalf of people, but that's a job out there that's slightly similar to a cyber forensic investigator who we have in the police, and they investigate people's devices. So if somebody's committed an offence, we might take the phone off them, and a cyber forensic investigator will go through it. They'll see who they've been talking to, when they've been talking to, and what websites they've accessed, how long they were on there for, what they were looking at. They'll be able to find that information. And then finally, a cryptographer is somebody who locks things. They encrypt data and lock systems. And if you think businesses, they want these kind of things. They have data that they need protecting. So they would hire a cryptographer to do that. Now, the average starting salary in the UK is £19,000. In cybersecurity, the average starting salary is £65,000. So that might not mean anything to you. It might do, I'm not too sure, but I assure you it's a lot more money. And there's also a skills gap, meaning there's not enough people to fill these jobs. And there are a lot of jobs in cyber that don't even exist yet. I bet a lot of you could go into in the future. So just bear that in mind. Even if you don't consider yourself super techie, there might be a job out there for you. So when it comes to working for the police, there are two ways you can do that. Being a police officer. So you do have to be 18 years old, and you do need a degree for that. That is an option. That's the uniformed officer, arrest people. I mentioned earlier, something that a lot of people don't know, which I particularly find interesting, is that you can be a civilian member of staff. So that's what I do. I work for the police, but I am not a police officer. So you can go into any department, work alongside the officers, you can investigate things, you can take statements, go and do arrests, you can go and be involved in it all. But you don't need to be a police officer. That means you also don't necessarily have to work shifts. There's lots of benefits on there, and there's roles in all kinds of departments. You can work with the animals, the police horses and the police dogs. You can work in our counter-terrorism unit. You could work in our fraud unit, our neighbourhood teams. Lots of exciting opportunities. And as it is National Apprenticeship Week, I thought I would share with you that as the police, we do also have a police apprenticeship. So at the minute we have business admin, which is where that sounds not very policey, but you would just work in any of the departments I've just mentioned, and you would help the officers maybe file with their filing, with the admin that goes with their crimes, but it would be all the interesting things that go alongside investigating as well. We then have customer service. They're the people that answer the 999 calls. And you just have to be of school leaving age to do this. If you do not have, I believe it's your level 2 in maths and English, or I think it might be lower, they will help you get that while you take on your apprenticeship. So that's something to bear in mind as well. I will send these to your teachers, like I've said, with all the qualifying criteria. Then the last option is a police constable degree apprenticeship. So you would become a police officer and get a degree at the same time. And for that, you do need the level 2 in maths and English or an equivalent. But that's just depending on what level you're at. I feel like there's always a role in the police that you could do in so many different exciting roles. And they encourage you moving around. So if one minute you want to work in cyber, the next minute you want to go and work in the neighbourhood teams, or then you might want to go and work in our sexual offences unit, you can move around and find that role that works for you while still working for the police. Now, there's a few things on the screen that I will share, a few games. The Cyber Choices website is where you can learn all about what I've told you being legal and illegal. We've got Cyber Sprinters and Google Interland, their games. DISC is the Digital Independent Specialist College in Manchester, and they make sure that people have accessible routes into careers in tech. So that is really good. What I'm going to ask is, it's hidden a little bit behind my slides there, so I don't know what's happened. But if you go onto a website called IDEA, and it's idea.org, some of you might have heard of it, you can do a Digital Duke of Edinburgh Award. So basically, there's little modules, there's all sorts. They're on entrepreneurs, if you want your own business, there's some on influencing, on tech, on creating things, there's modules on cyber spies. I'm going to ask you to go on and complete the SAFE online module. They take about 10 to 15 minutes each module. Every module you get so many points, you can mix different categories, and then once you get so many, you get a bronze, then a silver, and then a gold. This is completely free. You can sign up at any age, and this is industry recognised. So you can then go on to add this onto your CV, and it is recognised by a lot of companies. So I have gone ever so slightly over, but thank you very much for listening. And I'm going to hand back to Bronwyn in case you've got any questions for me, and I will certainly answer any after this session as well.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Sophie. That was fantastic, and I learned so much, and I hope all of you did as well, and we hope that you found this session useful too. We'll just pause for a second to see if we've got any questions at all in the Q&A. I'll just have a look. Please do feel free to add any in. If we don't have any questions, we will be sending out some frequently asked questions and answers as well from today. And if you do think of any after today as well, please just email them through to the Careers Hub inbox, and we can include those in the frequently asked questions too. So thank you again so much for everyone joining us today, and thank you, Sophie, too. And you can keep up to date with all things Meet Your Future and GMAX using the links on the screen there. So GMAX is the Greater Manchester Apprenticeship and Career Service platform, where you can find out loads more about different careers, different opportunities, whether that's apprenticeships, whether that's supported internships, and hear from employers and from people like you who are working in Greater Manchester about their roles too. So please speak to your teachers to find out a little bit more about how you can go on to GMAX and utilise it. So finally, thank you again, everyone, for joining us today, and I hope you have a fantastic rest of your afternoon and Tuesday. And finally, thank you, Sophie.
Thank you.